guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. That's from a guy. He is 30 years old, and he's going to share his story, how he was ultimately, I'm going to emphasize ultimately, able to have the last laugh on a gal who was awful to him in high school. You're going to see the story, guys. When he was 18, he definitely was the classic, clueless, pushover, nice guy who tried to get girls' affection by kissing their butt, being super nice, complimenting, listening to all their problems. You get the point. And this particular girl pretended to be his friend, but really was a snake, was a wolf in sheep's clothing, was awful to him. Fast forward to the future, he has an opportunity to have a last laugh and see what's become of her. And as a lot of you guys are aware, a lot of times the girls in high school and college are really pretty, the popular girls who were real jerks to everybody. They're not as attractive as they were 10, 15 years later. A lot of times they put on 50 pounds, lose their looks and all that, and are having a crisis because guys don't want them anymore. And you're going to see this is kind of what we're dealing with here. However, you're going to see, guys, although this guy has improved a lot, obviously since high school, he still has work to do on himself. He still hasn't learned everything from this channel, other things. And I'm going to point things out along the way because he makes some mistakes even now, after watching my content and improving, that would save him some problems. And I think it's important I go over this so he understands this. But for those of you guys out there that had girls, high school, college, are really pretty and were jerks to you, and you all know that girl, at least one, this will put a smile on your face to see what happens to those types later on in life. Karma comes back eventually. So it starts off, he says, hello SSM. The woman in this story, let's call her Kate, was never my girlfriend or wife. So I'll understand if it's not dramatic or funny enough to make into your channel, but I think it can serve as a valuable warning for men not to simp for women as I once did. Well, bro, even though she wasn't your girlfriend or wife, this is makes a very good point about certain things. This is why I'm doing this. And you have some things you need to work on. I'm going to point out along the way to help you. Kate and I went to high school together. Back then, I didn't have much success with girls because of a genetic facial deformity that makes me pretty rough on the eyes. And also because I was a weak person, as you will see. Kate seemed nice whenever we were with our mutual friends, and I took every opportunity to do favors for her and to tell her she was beautiful. Smack! Now, I know you didn't know this back then, so I'm smacking the younger you. The guys that do that bombard the girls with compliments and do all these favors for them, what happens to them? They never get the girl. The girl will string them along and use them for favors and advantages. This is where it all starts, guys. I would pick her up from work if she needed a ride, help her with her math homework, buy her alcohol with my fake ID, listen when she wanted a shoulder to cry on, etc. I was basically Milhouse from The Simpsons, who once famously and naively said, when she sees you'll do anything she says, she's bound to respect you. Wrong. Being that guy, giving her rides everywhere, buying her alcohol, helping her or doing her homework, listening to all her problems, that guy never gets the girl. Maybe if she's just was dumped by her boyfriend and was drinking a lot in an emotional state, maybe then that guy could sweep in for a quickie, and even then, good luck there. And nobody wants that based on those conditions. But that guy's never going to get that girl. But so many young guys don't get that. And I was that guy too. I did this shit. I told you guys in the past, I did all the shit I tell you not to do. And this is why I can talk about this, because I learned the hard way many times over. And I was just like you, brother, so I get it. But I learned, and you do too. Eventually, I asked her to my senior prom. I was so happy when she said yes, and completely oblivious to her intentions when she asked me to take her to her favorite expensive restaurant before the dance. This is a business transaction. Okay, I'll go with you to the prom, but you're going to buy me this expensive dinner. End of story. Sadly, this guy thought that she liked him. When I picked her up, I told her how perfect she looked in her prom dress, and while we ate, it was nothing but fun and laughter. However, the moment I paid for her food, she lost all interest in me. Well, nothing changes whether you are 18 at prom night and doing that, or you're 45 years old doing that. This is why I say one drink for those first dates. At the dance, she abandoned me to chat with her friends and dance with all the other boys who were crazy about her. I should have accepted her disinterest in me and moved on. But instead, when we had a private moment on our way to the after prom, I tried to kiss her. Well, I'm sure you all can guess how that went. Kate dodged my attempt with such alarming speed that I'm amazed she didn't hurt herself. And she said she didn't want to kiss or date me. So you, 18-year-old, you thought you had your chance after all that time of listening to her problems, buying her alcohol, helping her with her math homework, being the nicest guy to her possible. She went along to the prom with you, and then you make your big move, and I'm sure you were planning that forever, the right magical moment to give her the kiss, just like they show you in the movies, and she's like, ah! That's what you got. That must have been like being kicked in the stomach by a freaking mule. I'm sorry, man. Those moments either make or break guys. Guys either learn reality from those moments or they keep doing the same shit all over again. It gets worse. I realized the truth and I gave up. At the after prom, I didn't argue or pursue her when she abandoned me again. At one point, I overheard her and her friends laughing at how my nice suit was wasted on someone with such an ugly face. What a bunch of bitches. That's terrible. But this is where the term mean girls come from. All along, she was using you for what she could get out of your resources and all that. Guys, this is how it goes. This is why I tell the guys when these gals... she is an example of the type of gal that wouldn't give a guy a time of day in high school unless to use him, but then mid to late 20s when she's ready to settle, will suddenly go for guys like this and give them attention because those guys have resources and she wants to get married. Right here. This is why I tell you to be careful. So there's so much you can learn from all these stories that I go over. Supposedly, she also hooked up with someone else that night, but I can't verify that because I left early. I'm sure she was. I was upset mostly at myself for wasting my time and affection on someone like Kate. I stopped talking to her after that, and when I graduated, I thought our relationship would stay in the past where it belonged. Sorry I went through that, but if you learned something from that, then, it wasn't a total loss. It did, but only for 12 years. Recently, Kate messaged me on Facebook. I was 30 years old and she was 29, and we hadn't spoken or seen each other in over a decade. So I was surprised when she contacted me out of the blue to ask if she could crash with me when she attended a work conference in my area. You gotta be shitting me. After what she did and all those years later, she think that, she can come crash with you. Now remember, her perception of this guy is a certain way. But right here, they always come back. She probably thinks she's so amazing and magical, and not magical, so amazing and awesome that, of course, she would say, come on over, stay with me and all that. I didn't earn the kind of money that would make women from my past suddenly flock to me, so I doubted she wanted to hook up or start a relationship, and I didn't want that from her either. Good. Call me petty, but hearing her laugh it up with her friends about how ugly I am sealed the deal on me for that. Yeah, I would imagine so. I should have followed my first instinct and told her no right away, but I let curiosity get the better of me and asked why she wanted to see me. Smack! I wouldn't have anything to do with it. After that shit in high school, no. And notice he said his first instinct. His instinct told him no, probably because he listens to my channel or other channels and he knows, but he had to know. She mentioned an old friend of ours, let's call her Jennifer, who died just a few weeks prior and claimed she wanted to reminisce about the past. I wasn't as close to Jennifer as Kate was in high school, but I knew she was a good woman. You sure about that, dude? You thought Kate was a good woman, but hopefully that this Jennifer girl was nice and all that. I assumed Kate trying to reconnect with me was her way of grieving, and eventually I decided I owed it to Jennifer to let her friends grieve for her in whatever manner they saw fit. It didn't matter that Kate had used me and hurt my feelings 12 years ago. Honoring someone no longer with us was important, so I had told Kate she could spend the night at my house. Smack, 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 smack. Dude, no, you can honor the memory of Jennifer who passed away in your own way, and so can that, without having this a-hole come stay with you. Now, I know you were dying to know what she looked like and what she was like and all that. Let's be honest here. But no, that was a terrible idea. She was awful to you. But don't worry, guys. Our man here who's gonna make some mistakes, will come out at the end, and you're going to see her real reason for what connecting with this guy all these years later. When I picked Kate up at the airport, smack. Hasn't she ever heard of Uber or Lyft? You're letting her stay with her, and you're going to pick her up. You're already doing your nice guy shit all over again. You should not let her stay with you, let alone go driving out of the way to pick her up. You're being the accommodating nice guy. Don't do that. I had to hold in my surprise at how much she changed. Huh, what could you mean? She put on quite a bit of weight and clearly wasn't taking care of herself because she looked older than 29-year-olds typically do. Ha! The hot girl from high school who was mean as a snake is turned into a fat little piggy. Since I was used to people making fun of my face, I didn't comment on her appearance, and when she smiled and hugged me, I did the same. We made small talk and I started to relax. But on the drive back to my house, the first red flag arose. Brother, there were other red flags. Kate asked if we could stop by the liquor store because her flight had been stressful and she wanted to relax. When I said no, she jokingly asked when I became so boring, and I explained that I was a recovering alcoholic and was still tempted by the smell of alcohol sometimes. I said that if she wanted to drink, some of my friends were going bar hopping soon and I could connect her with them and pick her up later, but she could not drink around me, my car, or my house. Well, good for you for laying down the law and saying that's not happening. It shows you've improved, so I'll give you that. But what's this shit what's this shit that she can go hang out with some other dudes and I'll pick her up later? Why are you going to go pick her up? Do you see the accommodating thing you're doing here? You're in some ways being like you were when you were younger. You can't be that way. This is the shit that led her some of the things to how she treated you. I have no problem with people drinking as long as it has no negative impact on others. The red flag wasn't that she asked, it was how she responded when I told her no. She became angry very quickly, saying, I just want to effing drink. Why are you being like this? Mind you, he picked her up and letting her stay with him, and she's giving him shit. Why is she doing this? Because, number one, she's an asshole, but two, her perception of this guy is the same guy back in high school who she could walk all over. That's why she's treating him this way. Once people, but especially women, have a certain perception of you, it is damn near impossible to get them to change that. Just want to point that out. So anyway, she's being an a-hole here. I asked her again if she wanted to drink with my friends, and she said no. No, I should be getting ready for my conference anyway, with such bitterness that I felt like she was trying to punish me by rejecting my offer. It was like I was speaking with a little girl instead of a woman. Well, they do act very childish when they don't get their way. She must have noticed how confused and put off I was, because for the rest of the ride, she went out of her way to be bubbly and cheerful. Even so, I noticed that whenever I brought up Jennifer, Kate always steered the conversation back to herself. She was sad about Jennifer's death, but no sadder than someone is when they hear that a celebrity they knew had died. She was more concerned with talking about how she used to turn heads in high school and complain that men where she lived called her dumpy. I didn't have much to say other than, oh, because the word did suit her. So we're starting to see here, this isn't so much about the girl that died, more about her getting attention and trying to make herself feel better because she gained a bunch of weight. She looks a lot older. She is not as attractive as she once was. It sounds like she's not really attractive at all. And her personality is dog shit. She kept talking about herself even after we got back to my house, and seeing she wasn't getting a reaction from me, she closed her laptop with a dramatic sigh and said, screw it, I'm not doing any work tonight. And no way I'm doing this shit tomorrow unless I smoke a bowl first. I asked why. You said you liked your job earlier. She replied, I like it because I can be high while doing it. Drinking, smoking, obviously overeats. Yeah, she's a catch. I find it always hilarious, guys, when you have these gals back in high school and college that were damn good looking, hot bodies, but they were mean as snakes, egomaniacs, treat everybody like crap, walked around like they were the freaking queen, even though, well, people put that shit in their head. And then years later, all the partying, all the bad habits, and now they look like Jabba the Hutt's daughter. It's hilarious to me and it's interesting when you look back. If you go on Facebook, guys, if you ever go down the rabbit hole of Facebook and you'll say you connect with somebody from high school and you see how like they're friends with a lot of people from high school. I've been on Facebook for 2 years, but once a year I would go down the rabbit hole to see what people look like. It's amazing how the guys and gals in high school that were the athletes, the really good looking girls, just 10 years later, at my 10-year reunion, it was like, oh my God, they were hideous. Right? But now, 25 years after I graduated high school, I think actually 26, good Lord, people my age look like they're in their late 50s or 60s. The women are 50 pounds overweight. It's terrible. Meanwhile, a lot of the gals and guys in high school that were, maybe the guys were really skinny or they were overweight, they got in shape. It's pretty cool. Or the girls that weren't as good looking in high school, they lost weight, they took care of themselves, and they look great in their 40s. It's pretty funny how that works out. And they're still nice people. She kept talking about herself even after we got back to my house. Good Lord, this girl is an egomaniac. And saying she wasn't a reaction for me. Oh, I read that part. He goes on, despite my annoyance, that comment made me feel sorry for her. Smack. Don't feel sorry for her. Now, not because she smoked, but because she thought she had to be high just to get through her job. I was also confused. As I expected, she wasn't interested in hooking up and didn't act flirty at all, but she also didn't seem interested in reminiscing like her earlier message indicated. If all she wanted to do was complain, smoke, and drink, and get through a conference she didn't care about, why ask to stay with me? Did she decide to, on a whim while she was drunk or high, who was this person in my house? Well, she has an ulterior motive, which you guys are going to find out. If you haven't connected the dots yet, you will, as to the real reason why she's there. Let's see in the comment section early on if some of you guys can figure it out. I didn't get answers immediately, but I did get another red flag. A married couple I know, let's call Eric and Emily, visited that evening. Eric and Emily are happy, loving people dedicated to living simple, wholesome lives, the kind of friends you hope to get stuck with. Once a week we visit each other and we hang out. When they arrived, Kate stayed inside with them while I played tag outside with their boys and tried to burn some of their endless energy. That's cool. You got friends with kids, you have a good time with them and all, and run around with their kids. I've always admired and appreciated how positive Eric and Emily are, so I was surprised when the boys and I went inside, only to find them looking angry. They assured me nothing was wrong when I asked, but the kindness they share with others, always coming from a place of decency before, now came from a place of trying to contain their rage whenever they spoke to Kate. Kate, on the other hand, seemed pleased with herself, like she was gloating over some moral victory. No fight happened, but when my friends and their sons left earlier than usual, I went outside with them, apologized for whatever Kate had done, and asked for what was happening. They refused to say, but told me they look forward to seeing me next week when she was gone. Furious, I went back inside and told Kate she could sleep in my bed and that I didn't want to see her again until it was time to drive her back to the airport. She started to innocently ask what she had done wrong, but I interrupted with a forceful good night, which was the nicest way I could say to piss off. I slept on the couch, glad to be away from her. Smack, 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 smack. Why are you letting her sleep in your bed and you're sleeping on the couch in your house doing her a favor? You are doing the same crap they did back in high school. She's an asshole. Asshole to you, and you let her back there, and now she's acting this way. And no, I would have her. I would have done this to begin with, but that ship has sailed. But the second she's back at the house being an a-hole to her friends, no, she's out of there. She can go down and get a freaking room at the Hilton or the Marriott or the Hyatt or whatever. It's not your problem. And you're letting her not only can you stay there, but in your own bed. At least she can sleep on the couch. I don't mean to be a dick, bro, but you have to point these things out. You need to stop this accommodating nice guy shit. That nice guy, you've come a long way. I'll give you a lot of credit. But you need to watch more of my material and not keep doing these things. And I like this guy. I can tell this guy's a good guy. And I'm in a particularly good mood today. Otherwise, I'd really be tearing him a new one. But good Lord. This is why she acts this way, because even though she's an asshole, you're still doing these things. Don't worry, guys. I'm sure you guys want to kill him, but he'll redeem himself. Don't worry. After her conference the next day, she acted like nothing had happened and continued ranting about her insecurity over her appearance, even as I said nothing in response. Somebody here is dying to be validated. Eventually, she started complaining about her other problems, shocker, like how massive her student loan debt was, how crappy men are, and how the U.S. should become a socialist state so her debt can be canceled. I ignored most of her tirade, but laughed a little at the last part and said other people's tax money shouldn't go towards paying off her debt. She took out the loans, so she should be the one to pay them off. Hey, freaking men, brother. You redeemed yourself in my eyes with that little statement there. I know some people are going to bitch at me about it, but that's how I think. Kate's jaw dropped. She looked at me with wide eyes like she was stunned I was even capable of disagreeing with her. Good, brother. You got ways to go, but you have definitely improved. Good for you. Breathing heavily through her nostrils, she put an obviously fake smile to hide her anger and told me maybe we should calm down and talk about something else. And I finally understood. Kate was shocked by my criticism because I basically worshipped her in high school. Visiting me wasn't about reconnecting, grieving, or saving money in hotels and rental cars. She was unhappy with how her life had turned out and figured I'd reassure her that she was still special and beautiful and that all the men who didn't see her that way were sexist jerks. She assured that she still controlled my heart. She assumed that she still controlled my heart and that she could use me for a quick ego boost. There you go. Right then and there. That's what I thought early on, I must admit. And maybe you guys thought it too. That's the point of the whole thing. She doesn't care about her friend or anything. She just wants to go back to this guy that worshipped her and see if he still does. Guess what? This guy, he doesn't. One, because he has improved. Not fully improved, but he has improved since high school. And also, she's lost all her looks. And it's her own fault. Remember the movie, if you guys ever seen the movie Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd back in the 80s? And the guy had this line in the movie that said pretty much the best way to get even and revenge on rich people is turn them into poor people. That's the worst possible thing that could happen to a rich asshole. Well, to a gal that was super good looking when she was younger, was a total mean bitch, the best way for her to get her karma and to get what's coming to her is for her to lose all her looks. And have all guys who used to worship her all of a sudden wouldn't touch her with a 100-meter pole. That's the best way to get even with them. She came there just for his validation. She ain't getting it. Unfortunately for her, I was no longer that desperate, naive boy. I tried not to let on of what I just realized, but Kate sensed that something had changed and she wasn't going to get the validation she wanted from me. In an instant, she decided to go scorched earth. The phrase, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, needs to be updated. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, even if it's her fault she's not being scorned, if she's being scorned. Out of nowhere, she brought up another old friend of ours and gushed about how handsome his face was and how he was so sexy and how she had the biggest crush on him throughout high school. Look at her, trying to push your buttons. I could tell she was trying to get an angry reaction from me, but by that point I was done with her. She grew visibly angry, and that would have been a good opportunity to push her over the edge with a joke about her weight, but I didn't want revenge. I just wanted her on that plane out of my life. Throw her out. She won't leave your apartment or house? Call the cops. They'll drag her fat ass out of there. I had to stop for gas, and Kate went inside the gas station for a snack. Of course, she had to get a snack. She probably just ate, but had to get more food to keep her big ass going. She came back out with a can of beer, which I told her to throw away, reminding her that I was an alcoholic. With as much spite as she could muster, she said, "Don't be such a bitch." Opened the beer, chugged it in front of me, and with a triumphant smirk, she tossed the empty can and said, "Now you don't have to worry." Yeah, she's such a pleasant girl. What I did next might be childish, but I don't care. No, it's not. Kate had antagonized my friends and disrespected my boundaries. There's no room in my life for someone like that. I told her to at least throw the can away, and when she turned around to pick it up, I got in the car and drove away. Leave her there at the freaking convenience store. She called and I didn't answer. She texted calling me an a-hole and demanded I come back to take her to the airport or she might miss her flight. Too bad, honey. She has a phone. She can freaking contact Uber or Lyft. It's not hard. Again, I didn't answer, and within a minute she texted again, saying that she didn't mean to call me a bitch, and she does that sometimes when she's high. Okay, let's just say the fact that she's not as mean as a snake. Doesn't matter. The fact that she's smoking, drinking, doing all that stuff like that, then you got a problem. But no, she would have done that anyway. Instead of responding or picking her back up, I drove home and called Eric and Emily to make sure they were all right and that our friendship hadn't been damaged. They assured me it hadn't. Emily didn't tell me what Kate did to upset her, but said that I was beautiful and I shouldn't let ugly people like Kate make me think otherwise. I thanked her and said I wouldn't. Eric admitted that he didn't know what happened, but he knew that Kate had upset his wife, and it was enough for him to dislike her. He said we were cool, but they wouldn't be visiting me in the future. Wow, my voice went off there. If Kate was around. I told him he wouldn't have to worry about that. Yeah, you got good friends, and don't ever mess up a good friendship with a-holes like that. As for Kate, she sent me a Facebook message 2 weeks later, a simple, "How are you?" I don't plan on answering because based on her past behavior, she's only trying to start a conversation so she can insult and use me again. Probably. Block her. I suppose the moral of the story is this. Simp, worship, whatever you call it, don't do it for a woman. Not only will she treat you like garbage in the short term, but she might come back 12 years later to do it again. Yes. To any men who hear this story, you're worth more than what some attention-seeking narcissist thinks of you. Don't allow people who disrespect you or your friends into your life. At best, they'll waste your time, and at worst, well, SSM's other videos provide plenty of examples. Thank you for listening. Well, bro, that was an interesting story. And while you did many things, when she came back into your life that just you deserve some good smacks for, I'm glad at least you realized where you went wrong, and you left her ass on the side of the road at freaking 7-Eleven or wherever you went for her to get that drink. Good for you. And you cut her off. That was good. The 18-year-old high school you never would have done that. So you redeemed yourself in the end. Block her. Have nothing to do with her. Going forward, bro, no more of this nice guy accommodation shit. You should never let her back in your life, no matter how curious you were. And that Jennifer thing who passed away, that was just an excuse. I know you were dying to see what she was like today. Bad idea. When you're doing somebody a favor, you should be bending over backwards. Never bend over backwards to do a favor for someone that was awful to you. You shouldn't have let her stay with you. You shouldn't have gone out of your way to pick her up. You shouldn't have let her sleep in your freaking bed, particularly after she treated your friends like crap. None of that stuff. So you got to learn about it. So you need to watch more of my videos and other channels and learn when somebody is treating you well, then you can do nice things for them. But for someone that's being an a-hole to you, no. And I don't care about this. The gentlemanly thing to do would have been to give her my bed. No, bullshit. She can sleep on the goddamn couch. She doesn't even deserve the couch. She deserves the floor. She deserves the backyard, but she shouldn't have been there in the first place. But I think I made that clear. So guys, point of this whole story is it's good to see. This is what happens to people when they're younger. They're these narcissistic a-holes. They're good looking, men or women, honestly. It goes both ways. They think they are God's gift to humanity. Well, eventually life happens. A lot of them gain a bunch of weight and reality sets in. Eventually they're not seen as the so-called God's gift to humanity, to the world, as they once thought they were when they were younger. For God, it has both men and women. And this is a good one here. So if any of you guys have been burned before by girls that are really mean to you, I mean, just mean for the sake of being mean and look down on you in high school, college, all that, a lot of them eventually, they pork up or they lose their looks in one form or another. And they hate it when they're not getting the same special treatment when they get older. And he said 29 at the time. That's not that old. I know gals in their 40s. They look damn freaking good for their 40s. Compared to some of these chicks in the late 20s that just destroyed themselves through eating garbage, a whole life of eating garbage, drugs, alcohol, smoking, all that. I think that's karma. Anyhow, guys, don't make the mistakes this guy did, but then it just goes to show you that you can, in spite of shit happening, you will have the last laugh and you can improve yourself. This guy has improved since high school, but he still has things to work on. So he knows it, and let's not be too harsh on him in the comment section because he did redeem himself at the end. Alright guys, that was it for today. Be sure to comment down below what you think about this. Let this guy know what you think. Make this guy aware where he went wrong so he doesn't do this again. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.